Health lovers, so it's your student Nurse V, and today on the health episode I'm going to be doing something really different. So today I'm going to be talking about nursing research, and I know that research is one cause that has really given nursing students a whole lot of issues. So I'm going to try to use about 10 minutes, let's say less than 10 minutes of your time, to try to break down some portions of research and convince you that research is not as tedious as you view it to be. Now in this video I'm going to be talking about research designs. Now what is research design? You know that research is all those investigations, those stuff that a person carries out in order to give answers to a question or in order to solve a problem. So now you can't carry out a research without research designs. Now let's take it for example, you want to find out about a particular tribe like the Igbos. You want to know what the Igbos do. Now in order to carry out that research, you actually need a research design. You actually need to go into the community and ask them questions, that is questionnaires, interview them and the rest. So now let's dive to the definition of research designs. Now research design is a systematic plan that specifies the procedure for collecting, organizing and interpreting data in order to give answer to a research problem accurately. So those procedure that guides the way you collect this data, those procedures that guides the way you organize this data, those procedures that guides the way you interpret this data so that you can be able to solve a research problem, that is a research design. Now let's take for instance, you want to solve issue of insecurity in Nigeria. You know, you have to ask some questions. There are some things that you need to find out. You need to know some factors. You need to know what is going on and what is wrong. So you can't actually solve the insecurity in Nigeria without carrying a research design to know how you're going to collect this information. So those data you collect are those information you get from people, from respondents. We call them in research, we call them respondents, or you call them participants. Now let's talk about the benefits of research design. Why do we need research design? Now the first benefit that you all should know about research design is that research design serves as a blueprint for the study. You want to study insecurity in Nigeria and you don't collect sample, or you don't ask questions, or you don't know what is that predisposing factors to insecurity, you can't carry out that research. So number one is that it serves as a blueprint for the study. Now number two, it gives answers to research questions. Why is there insecurity in Nigeria? The answer is there. Ask one or two persons, that is interview, focus group discussions. You're asking people something, they will come to you and tell you, okay, the reason why there's insecurity is that there is no employment. At that point, you have gotten answer to what you need, and you did that through a research design. So it helps to give answers to questions. Now it also helps to ensure validity and reliability of the study. It ensures that this study is valid. Why is it valid? Because I got my information from a certain people. I got it. I didn't just sit down and assume. It is valid because I had to gather this information. It's reliable because this is what is actually going on. I did not assume. So that is one of the purpose of research design. Then it ensures credibility. It ensures that, okay, what you're telling me is actually true. If I want to argue, are you sure that this country is like this? So I can tell you, go and check. I did my own finding, and that is credibility. I did not just assume. It's credible, it's legit. You can find out if you want to find out. Now another benefit of this research design is that it shows the relationship between variables. Now what are variables? We know anything that varies, any phenomenon that varies are variables. So it shows the relationship between variables. That's to say, it shows a cause and effect relationship. What causes insecurity in Nigeria? It shows the relationship between unemployment and insecurity. Lack of unemployment leads people to go into corruption, leads people to go into armed robbery. So it shows the relationship between cause and effect relationship. Now, those are the benefits. That is why we need research design. Now, let's talk about the characteristics of research design. What are those things that is inside a research design? Now, number one characteristics is that it makes use of an unbiased assumption. Now, you don't just assume using your emotions or the way you see them. Just like the way we sit down, we'll be like, oh, Igbo people are ritualists, Akwa people are this, are that. We are making assumptions without actually experimenting, without actually finding out, observing it. You get? So it makes use of unbiased. Unbiased means non-partiality, unbiased assumption. It makes use of appropriate tools. Now, the tools that you use for a research design must be appropriate. Now, appropriate in the sense that you want to study wildlife. What is going on in the wildlife? You go to the forest to study animals. Now, the appropriate tools you use at that point is observation. Just sit down and observe the wildlife. Are you going to carry questionnaires to go and start giving lions? Or are you going to carry questionnaires to go and start giving giraffe? That is a wrong tool. So it makes use of what? appropriate tools. Now, another one is that it makes use of correct and appropriate variables. What relates to the study? It makes use of the appropriate variable. Let's say you want to study nurses. The variable there you can use the pediatric nurse, this, but when you use a different thing entirely, like a farmer, how does it relate to the study? So it makes use of appropriate variables. Now that takes us to the types of research design. Research design, let us know how we gather this information. Remember, it's a procedure of gathering information, gathering data. When I say information, I'm talking about data, gathering data, right? Organizing and interpreting. Now we want to know the types, the ways we do it. Now we have 3 types of research designs. Now we have the experimental research design, we have the non-experimental research design, and we have the quasi-experimental research design. So those are the 3 types of research design: experimental, non-experimental, and quasi-experimental. Now from the word, you're supposed to even know how to at least explain the differences between experimental and non-experimental. Experimental, you manipulate it, right? You carry out experiments and know what to do. While experimental, you are observing, you're not manipulating anything. Now let's talk about experimental research designs. Now experimental research design makes use of 3 properties. Now it makes use of randomization, it makes use of manipulation, and it also makes use of control. So those are the 3 properties of experimental research design: randomization, manipulation, and control. Now what is randomization? So randomization is sharing subjects into different experimental groups or control groups. So when you get your subjects, now note that the people that you are actually carrying this research on, you can either call them respondents, you can either call them participants, or you can either call them subjects. So when you share this subject into groups, okay, this is group A, this is group B, this is group B, group C, that is randomization. Now when you talk about manipulation, this is done by the researcher, and it's mostly done in manipulating the cause to bring out an effect. So manipulation is mostly done by a researcher. Now let's say, for instance, you want to use a rabbit and test the effect of gentamicin. You carry 10 ml of gentamicin, inject in the white rabbit, this rabbit A. You carry 5 ml of gentamicin, you inject in rabbit B. The process of you doing that is manipulation. You are manipulating so that you observe and see what is going to be the outcome. So manipulation is done by the researcher to establish the relationship between cause and effect. Now the last one is control. Now control are those stable conditions in which the investigations is carried out. Those stable conditions, you want to examine two flowers or 2 trees. You make sure that what you're giving this tree is what you're giving this tree. So that is control. The same condition, the same circumstances. Now let's talk about the types of experimental research designs. Now we have 3 types of experimental research designs. Remember, what I was talking about is properties, what is involved. So let's talk about the types. We have the true experiment research design, we have the Solomon 4 group design, and we have the after only research design. Now please don't let this research bulk you, just follow as I'm giving it. So remember, we have true experimental research designs, then we have the Solomon 4 group research design, and we also have the after only research design. Now when you hear true experimental research design, what should come to your head is that it involves a pre-test and a post-test. Now a test is given before the experiment, and after the experiment another test is given. That is, the pre-test is given before an experiment and a post-test is given after the experiment. Now this is usually done for comparison. Now let me give an example. You go into let me say you begin a semester and they just started the semester without teaching you anything, and the first thing they do is to give you test. That is a pre-test. Now after taking this test and probably you learned something that semester, and at the end of the semester they give you the normal exams. That is a post-test. Now they are doing that to determine if there was anything that took place. Let's say you scored 3/10 in pre-test, post-test you score like 8/10. That shows that learning actually took place. So it is done for comparison. So just know that true experiment is all about pre-test and post-test. Now Solomon 4 group design. Now in Solomon 4 group design, it has to do with sharing subjects into 1 experimental group and 3 control groups. I'll take it again. Solomon 4 group design has to do with sharing of subject, that's sharing the participants, sharing the respondents into 1 experimental group and 3 control groups. Now we talk about the last type of experimental research design, and that is the after only research design. Now this after only research design, we all know from the word after only. Now in this research design there is no pre-test. The test is given after the experiment is done. So it only involves a post-test. There is no pre-test given. So take note of the 3 types of experimental research design: the true experimental research design, the Solomon 4 group research design, and we have the after only research design. Remember the properties: the randomization, the manipulation, and the control. Now let's talk about the second type of research design, which is non-experimental research design. Now remember, experiment has to do with you manipulating so that you see. You take something to the lab and do so that you see. You get? Now, what is non-experimental research design? Now, non-experimental research design, there is no manipulation that is done. No manipulation is done. So what is done is that ideas, opinions, attitudes are being observed as they naturally occur. So it just makes use of more of observations. You're observing, you don't manipulate, you don't beat a child to get a good character. You observe that child, you don't do anything. So that is what non-experimental. You don't manipulate it, you observe as they naturally occur. Now let's talk about the types of non-experimental research design. Now we have like about 5 types. Now we have the descriptive design, we have the surveys, we have the correlation studies, we have the epidemiological studies, and we have the developmental studies. So those are the 5 types of non-experimental research design. Now let's talk about the descriptive design. Now this one has to do with describing phenomena. When you hear phenomena has to do with something. So in research we call it phenomena. So this has to do with describing phenomena, events, attitude, behaviors as they naturally occur without manipulating them. You saw a boy walk from this to this, you observe it and you document. Right, Mr. Okon walked from here to here. At that point you're carrying out a descriptive study, a descriptive design, a descriptive research. I see you, I describe you. What do you do? I describe what you do. So that is a descriptive research. Now we talk about the next one, which is surveys. Now surveys has to do with obtaining information from people through interviews or questionnaires. So I want to get an information about a particular community. I go to the people. It's either I do interviews, that is face-to-face communication. I ask you questions, you answer me. Or we do questionnaires. I give out questionnaires, you fill it and you give it back to me. Or we can also do focus group discussion. I can group some people and be asking questions. So that is all about survey. Now we have 2 things involved in survey. Now once information is gotten from everybody in the population, it is called a census survey. And once information is gotten from, let's say, the subset of a population, you know that the subset of a population is a sample. So once information is gotten from that sample, it's called a sample survey. We have different types of surveys. We have the census survey, like I said, from the whole population. We have the sample survey, the subset of the population. We also have the mail survey. That one is a survey done through emails. We have the online survey, the one that is questionnaires is sent through internet platforms. Then we have telephone survey, the one that you make call and ask questions, and that is telephone survey. So those are the types of surveys that we have. Now let's go to the next type of non-experimental research design, which is correlation studies. Now when you hear correlation, what comes to your mind has to do with the degree of relationship. Now correlation is a different topic on its own. I don't want to go there. If they say there's a correlation, that means there's a relationship. If there's no correlation, if it's negative, that means there's no relationship. Let's take for instance bread and butter. There's a correlation because they work together. There's a relationship between bread and butter because you mix it together and it's very sweet, right? So that's, I just had to dive back to bring that. So what is correlation study? Now correlation study measures the degree of relationship between variables, between phenomena, between me and you. Do we have a relationship? So correlation study measures the degree of relationship. Now if it is positive, it means there is a relationship, and if it is negative, it means there is no correlation. That means there is no relationship. So that's all about correlation studies. Now we go to the next one, which is developmental studies. Now developmental studies has to do with observing phenomena as they digress, or you say as they move from one stage to another over a period of time. When you talk about development, you are climbing from level 1 to level 2 to level 3. You are increasing in stage, right? So you're observing as this thing is increasing over a period of time. That is developmental studies. Now we talk about the last one, which is the epidemiological studies. When you hear epidemiology, what should come to your mind is disease. So epidemiological studies has to do with the study of how disease affects, or you can say the study of the causes of disease, effects of disease on health in a population, how disease is being caused, the pattern of transmission, how it affects a particular population. That is a epidemiological studies. Now we have 2 types of epidemiological studies. Now we have the case control study and we have the cohort study. So now let's talk about the case control study. So case control study, now if case control study is all about studying both people that are infected with disease and people that are not infected with disease, so that you can see the pattern in which the disease is being transmitted. Let's say people in a community suffering from malaria, you study both with malaria and the one without malaria, so you will know how this disease has affected their life. Now the cohort studies has to do with studying a population, a general population, over a period of time to know or to observe who developed this disease first. You study the whole of Akwa Ibom or the whole of Nigeria, let's say for 1 year, to find out who will get HIV first, to find out who will have malaria first. That is a cohort study. So the difference is that case control, you're studying about both of them and what is going on, the disease people and the people that don't have disease. While cohort study, you're studying everybody to find out who eventually gets the disease. So that is all about the non-experimental research design. Now that takes us to the last research design, which is a quasi-experimental research design. Now you know it makes use of parts of experimental, so that should give you a clue of what quasi-experimental research design is all about. Now, quasi-experimental research design makes use of experimental techniques. That's what we talked about in experimental, the true experiment, the Solomon 4 group, and the rest. So it makes use of experimental techniques but lacks a bit of the true experiment. So that is quasi-experimental research design. It makes use of experimental, no doubt, but there is an issue in the true experiment. It lacks a bit or a part of the true experiment research design. That takes us to the types of quasi-experimental research design. So that takes us to, we have three types. Now we have the non-equivalent control group design, we have the after-only non-equivalent control group design, and we have the time series design. So I'll take it again. Types of quasi-experimental research design: the non-equivalent control group design, the after-only non-equivalent control group design, and the time series design. Now let's talk about the non-equivalent control group design. Now this has to do with sharing subjects into different experimental groups and control groups. Now in this particular one, it makes use of both the pre-test and the post-test. Now we talk about the second one, which is after only non-equivalent control group design. Now this after only non-equivalent control group design has to do with giving treatment to the experimental group, but no treatment is given to the control group. So after sharing it into two groups, instead of giving the both group two treatment, the same treatment, you're only treating the experimental group, you're not treating the control group. Now the last one is the time series. Now in the time series design, there is no randomization. When you talk about randomization, sharing into groups, there is no sharing into groups, there is no pretest, there is no whatever, and there is no plenty group. It only has one group which is selected for the cost of study. So with that being said, I'm able to talk about all you need to know about research design. So research design, you know why we need research design, types of research design, and each of the types has their types. So I'm going to stop here for today, and if this video was helpful, please do well to comment. I'm going to drop more videos educating you all on research. So just know that research is not hard. Research is just like you trying to give answers to your curiosity. So if you see research to be one big deal, it will really be a bone in your throat. So do well to like, share, and follow. Share to people that will find this video very helpful, and comment what you want me to talk about in research or in any course that may interest you. I still remain student nurse V, and I'm here to assist all my student nurses around the world in any course that they may find difficulty. So do well to like, share, and follow me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Learn with V. Bye. Love you all.